Welcome to the Vermilion Podcast, a free audio library of business strategies, creative inspiration, and industry knowledge for actors, filmmakers, writers, and anyone looking to activate their creative potential. I'm Misha Calvert, a writer-director who helps artists build the careers that they dream of. I really hope that this podcast inspires you in some way. Thanks for tuning in.
This week, I'm going to talk to you about the do's and don'ts of auditions. And this was on my mind because I just conducted some auditions last week for something that I was directing. And I was reminded of the do's and don'ts of auditions. For the most part, it was wonderful, and the actors were well behaved and kind of doing a good job with the audition process. But I've been wanting to do an audition episode for a while because I feel like there's a lot of confusion around what does matter and what doesn't matter with auditions. So I'm here to clear it up. As someone who's been directing for over 20 years and who has cast a lot of my own work, whether it be on stage or on camera, this is one filmmaker giving you the do's and don'ts of auditions. So one of the first things that I want to say is that communication is so important when it comes to auditions. I think about a quarter of the actors that we reach out to when my team and I are casting something are either they don't get back to me at all, or they're late to respond. And this includes emails or texts, like if I'm on a texting basis with them. So this is really bad. Like, even if you're at the beach or, you're away, you have to, when you're in contention for a project or something comes up, or, you're asked to audition for something, you have to be in communication because it could mean the difference between the job or not. So I have this rule that I really like, which is if something comes into my email, I like to touch it once. And that means that as soon as I see it, I reply. And that does create a little more pressure on you. Like, it can feel kind of intense. So that's okay, because you are going to be getting stuff done at a much faster rate. And that way you don't have to spend energy and time to think about the email again. You just reply immediately. And I'll do this even if it's from somebody kind of important and they've just emailed me like 5 minutes ago. No chill. I will just reply as soon as I see it. So I don't care if they think I'm like at my computer, staring at my inbox. I probably am. So busy people and I find successful people, they either respond incredibly fast or they will not respond at all. That's my experience. So respond to your emails. Another do of auditions is that you really need to be positive. You need to be positive and eager about the role. And even if you end up saying no, but if you do have to say no, be twice as positive, be twice as friendly if you have to tell them no or turn down the role. No producer or director or casting director likes to hear no. Like, no one wants to hear no, in case that's not clear. There's a number of reasons for this. Obviously, like, ego plays into it to a certain extent, but also telling someone in production no creates a problem. They were hoping to fill a certain slot with you, and if you say no, then they still have an empty slot. Or maybe even the entire scene or production was like arranged around you, and if you say no, then they have to reformulate things. So if you do have to say no, just be aware that you're creating a problem and that they're going to have to spend time and energy at the very least to go find somebody else who will say yes. So that's why you do want to just be really friendly with your no's. Also, you never know when they're going to call you in again. So don't burn a bridge, right? The next thing that I want to say for auditions is that I noticed on this tight turnaround, because I put a casting call out maybe like 5 days before we were set to start filming, which is not a lot of time. I mean, that does happen in film and television, but it was a pretty tight turnaround. And I found that quite a few people were obsessing over trying to have the background perfect and the setup all, like professional audition. I did not care. I didn't need the background. I didn't need the, like good camera. I was even willing for someone to FaceTime with me and have me read live with them on a vertical FaceTime video. I just needed to see, did they at all fit the role and the energy that I was looking for? So the actors that put pressure on themselves in that tight turnaround context to make everything perfect and to wait until they were like, had makeup on or whatever, they were too late. Like they missed the window. And some of them just didn't even end up submitting at all. And those were people that might have gotten the role. So you want to read the room and like read the context of the audition. And if it seems like, if it's months in advance and they're really like, it's a big budget thing, like, sure, do the whole studio setup with the great sound and the great camera and the, someone who's a reader that you really vibe with. But if it's a tight turnaround, maybe that stuff doesn't matter. And maybe they're just trying to see you as quickly as possible. And the deciding factor is actually time, your energy and time. And those are the two things that are going to give you the job or not. Another audition don't that might be a little surprising to you coming from me, a writer, is that I don't so much care about the words. Obviously, I want people to understand the writing and to appreciate the writing. But, if I'm giving you a lot of pages for an audition and you don't have time to memorize it, I don't need you to worry about being word perfect. And I would rather you not use a teleprompter. Like, it's not about being word perfect. It's about actually memorizing what's happening in the scene and memorizing the beats of the scene. And then when you're doing the audition, to be able to paraphrase even up to 30 or 40% of the words, if that means that you're going to be present and you're going to be alive and sparkly as the camera's rolling. I would much rather that, and you make up 30% of the words, than for you to stress yourself out and be word perfect and be kind of rigid, honestly. So I don't think that being off book necessarily means you will be rigid, but I see a lot of people who are like just barely memorized, and because of that, they are rigid. They're not giving themselves the grace to go a little bit off script and be more spontaneous, dynamic, and compelling. And did I say no teleprompter? Yeah. I mean, unless you're above a certain age and you really, really need one, I just don't like them. I can see the eyes moving, and, a lot of famous actors will get the part and they're not off book at all. I'm not saying do that. Like, I wouldn't advise that, but no teleprompters. Okay, here's some lines that I've heard in the indie film world as an indie film director, things that actual people have said to me. I don't audition. An actor said that recently. I mean, I think this person also has kind of moved on from being an actor, but people who are still trying to work as an actor and don't want to audition, I mean, unless you're A-list, to me, that's a non-starter. I only take paid work. Okay. Do you have footage? Do you have a reel? Do you have credits? If the answer isn't yes to all three of those, then you need to take unpaid work. Don't kid yourself in this market and in this climate and in the, kind of slow collapse of traditional Hollywood. I don't think we can afford to turn down pro bono work if it's a good project that actually moves us forward in our career. So really, that's the question. Like, is the project going to move you forward in your career? I take pro bono work all the time. There's a lot of stuff that I am willing to direct for free because I'm in the early stages of my career and I'm making up for lost time. I didn't go to film school, and I know that it will build my network. It will lead to other jobs. It could lead to an agent or a manager. It could lead to much bigger paid employment. And I love what I do. So I would rather do a pro bono job that's really cool with a script that I really like than not be directing that week. You know what I mean? And I think that that is a wise way to navigate the industry as an actor as well. Another thing that I heard that I don't love is I don't do shorts. Well, Oscar winners do shorts. Wes Anderson won an Oscar for his short recently. Pedro Pascal does shorts. So I don't do shorts. To me, that translation, I'm insecure about where I'm at with my career. If you like the material, do the short. You never know where it's going to land because there is a short form category for the Oscars. And some of them do really well and get a whole bunch of views. And by the way, film is no longer the dominant medium in the world. Digital is the dominant medium, which by definition is short form. So short form content is the defining voice of our culture. And if you're still resting back on the old, stiff, gatekeeping, like long form need for validation that's coming from long form television and feature films, again, to me, that's just insecurity. And then the final thing that some people will tell me when I reach out directly to ask them to audition for something is that they want me to go through their agent to set up the audition. And most likely the answer is no. If I'm going through agents, there's going to be a whole long list of actors that agent represents that are probably a lot more well-known than you are. No offense. I'm working with a casting director right now. We're getting agent submissions for one of the lead roles, and they're submitting like name talent for a short film. Like they're submitting people who are like borderline A-list to be considered for this film. That's what happens with agent manager submissions. If I'm reaching out to you directly and asking you to submit for something, I, a director, like you, and I want to build a relationship with you. And saying go through my agent is a way to say F you. That's a way to say I'm not interested. It's not a way to make you look fancy and like an A-list name, because, by the way, the A-list people they won't do that. They don't say that. They want to read the script immediately and then decide if they like the script or not. And if they do like the script, like we just talk. We'll text and we'll talk and we'll work out the dates. They're like, oh, let me check. Oh no, I'm with my family that weekend or whatever. But like they're very capable people, A-list actors, and we'll just like talk about it like human beings. And then when it comes time to get the terms and the paperwork and all of that, then they'll loop in the agent. But passing a director off to your reps is a way of saying, I'm not interested, leave me alone. So just be aware that if you do that, that's what that means. All right, so really quickly about props, because I get asked about props so much with auditions. Props are good if you're using them in a way that's not distracting, that it's going to help and not hurt. Too many props is going to be distracting. So, don't be in a position to ever fumble your props. Like, if you're fumbling your props, that means you probably have too many props. But if it calls for you to be on the phone, definitely have a cell phone. Don't just go like this and don't go like that. Have an actual phone, because everyone basically in the Western world now has a phone. So because everyone in the world has a phone, just use your phone. Other common props are if you have to wear glasses or sunglasses, that's fine. If you have to smoke a cigarette, smoke an actual cigarette. Don't just go like this. Don't go like this. Like, that's weird and silly. Try to have an actual cigarette, even if it's not lit. And if you have a pen or a pencil in a scene, you can actually use a pen or a pencil. Those aren't going to be distracting. They're going to help us understand what's going on. So that's my thoughts on props. A big do, is to try to be off book. Some actors get really angry when I tell them this, but my response is, if you don't want to memorize, to the best of your ability, as discussed, then there's 100, possibly 1,000, possibly 10,000 actors right behind you who will gladly be memorized in order to be considered for that role. There is just too much competition. Acting is the new celebrity. It's the new doctor, lawyer. Like, everyone wants to be a performer now. So because there's more supply than demand, I don't think you should give them any reason to turn you down. I think you're not entitled to a career as an actor. So for God's sake, get off book, because the competition is too stiff to not be off book. A do is to read the full script if you can. You can always ask for the full script. It will help you understand the material. A don't is to follow up to make sure that you're still in contention, or to see if it's a yes or a no. I didn't hear back. I'm assuming that's a no. Please don't write that email. They're very busy. You will absolutely know if it's a yes. You will know. They will tell you. They will find you. They will hunt you down if it's a yes. And if it's a no, you're probably not going to hear back, unfortunately. They're very busy. They're like tearing their hair out, putting out fires, losing their mind. So it's nothing personal. It's just that most of the time they don't have time to tell you if you did not get the part. Now, you can ask for feedback on the tape, and sometimes they'll give it to you, but I think it really is best if you have a rep to let the rep do that pushing and not yourself, because it can come off a little, just a little much from an actor. So sorry, I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but all right, one last don't on auditions. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for your work. Even if you flub a line, or you're late to the walking in, or you're sweaty, we know. We could see. It's okay. Apologizing takes up energy. It takes up their time. It burns their emotional energy, and then they have to caretake you. They have to make you feel like it's okay because you're feeling bad, and you don't want to make them give any more energy than they already are expending, because they're already probably exhausted. And if they're a casting director, they're probably seeing 100 actors in a day. If they're a director, they've probably got 100 things on their mind at any one time. So be confident, be proud. Don't apologize, no matter what happens. I mean, I guess if you stumble and fall into the lap of the director and hit them with your elbow, sure, but we're not talking about that. I see so many actors apologizing for their work multiple times in an audition. You really have to train yourself out of that habit. It's not a good look. And, we're chill, and we want you to be chill as well, and to feel good and feel confident about your work. I did think of one last thing. Do you guys want a bonus tip? It's actually I'm told one of the most helpful pieces of on-camera acting advice that I've ever given, which is a little trick called build the room. And if you have had me in class, you've heard me talk about this. It's a phrase that I coined to basically describe when you're getting ready to do your scene. You want to, with your eyes open, see what is in front of you. Like, let's say you're at the beach and there's a scene where a tidal wave is coming. You want to see what the beach looks like with your actual eyes. I'm doing it right now. I'm looking at the studio, and now I'm looking at the beach. I don't know if you can tell the difference. Studio, beach. And you want to do that all the way around. So I'm looking at the side, down the side of the beach, and the other side, and I'm looking behind me. And now I know where I am in space. And now when I look out and I see the tidal wave coming, suddenly there's something happening in my eyes. There's something happening in the actor's eyes. And that's what you really want to do in your audition, because that's what's going to book the role. These are the do's and don'ts of auditions. It's been really, really, really fun to talk about this with you. Thank you for joining me. And I really hope to see you the next time we have auditions. I would love to see your work. And And, the people that listen to this podcast are special and very talented. So I will see you soon.
The Vermilion Podcast is sponsored by Vermilion, a home for artists. We offer classes, coaching, and community for creatives and innovators in the arts. If you're ready to find your voice and build the life of your dreams, we're here to support you every step of the way. Check out clubvermilion.com and schedule a free call today.